It's been a while, for me anyway. It always feels weird when I haven't filmed a video in like 2 to 4 weeks. If I leave it that long, it starts to feel strange even doing it again. It's a weird thing because I so regularly film videos with just repetition over and over again and have done for over a decade now. But when I take a longer break, it's like, oh shit, how do I do this again? But hello, it's been a while, and I have a Eureka Blu-ray update video for you. As I always tend to say, and I promise more, these in-depth reviews will be coming very soon. I'm really backed up, a huge backlog, and lots of stuff prepared. A notepad half full of notes for lots of these things, but I'm going to talk very briefly in this one about the May 2024 releases from Eureka on Blu-ray. We have three titles here, in fact, two MOC releases, which is kind of a rarity these days. They seem to kind of focus more on the Eureka Classics range as of recent memory in recent years. And these I had an absolute blast with. Some really great Asian films in this lineup from May of 2024. My allergies are also going crazy, so I'll have to do a lot of creative editing with this video. I think it also doesn't help that my camera and my microphone have been up on their tripods for 3 weeks and have just caked in dust as well, which is just perfect. Dust allergies, hay fever, fantastic. Moving to the films, can you tell I'm out of practice? It is like it's like a muscle memory thing. I'll get back into it, but like it's rough to start with. Like, what am I talking about? Let's get into it. Let's properly get into it. So the first release I want to talk about is this one here with a gorgeous cover, artwork design thing from the great Tony Stella. And this is Prison Walls, Abashiri Prison 1 through 3. And this comprises spine numbers 285, 286, and 287, respectively, in the Masters of Cinema collection. These are three films by the Japanese king of cult director himself, Teruo Ishii. And I don't think I've seen any of his films before. I know this is not entirely indicative of his output, where he made some very interesting films that I don't think I really want to be seeking out or watching myself personally. But these films, the Abashiri prison films, the first three and the long-running, is it really a long-running series when there are 18 installments in the span of, I think, about 6 or 7 years, 8 years maybe. So, I mean, long running, maybe not, but prolific series of films. And they all star Ken Takakura, the king of cool when it comes to Japanese film stars. I mean, I've become introduced to him, which isn't really a proper sentence. I've become introduced to him. I become acquainted with him. That's more of a personal thing. I have become more familiar with Ken Takakura through these Eureka releases. I think it started last year with The Bullet Train, which I loved. Great release, great film. Ken Takakura plays one of the guys who puts a bomb on the bullet train, the Shinkansen. And then there was Golgo 13. And so I'm just like, yeah, three films starring Ken Takakura. I'm all in. And I loved these films. They're all kind of different, and it's interesting how the set is called Prison Walls because only one of the films actually takes place in a prison. The other two, you don't even see a hint of a prison. So, but the series, I mean, all three of these films, the first three in the series, all came out in 1965, were all directed by Teruo Ishii, and was this just absolute powerhouse for Toei because the first films were successful, so they just were pumping out sequels at an alarming rate. There was even a fourth film in the series that came out in 1965, but this set includes the first three. And the first one is a proper, prison movie in the way that I really enjoy them, and you can feel my sinuses kind of start to get bunged up now. But black and white, cheaply made in that sense. They didn't have much faith in it as a as a commercial property, and it did very well and was really the launching pad for Ken Takakura as a big star in Japan. He'd been making films for a long time before that, but Abashiri Prison, the first one, Abashiri Bangaichi was the one that kind of did it for him. And so many sequels followed, but I really love the first film, and I think that the last 5 minutes of it introduce a kind of morality play that elevates the film so much more than if those last 5 minutes weren't there. Otherwise, I still think it's a great film, but I just think that the choices made in the script and what the characters do in the final 5 minutes just makes this a really interesting film psychologically. And I loved the first film. I thought it was great. The sequel kind of introduced me to like, okay, so I mean, we are following continuity, but not really, you know? We got like characters showing up from the first film, played by the same actors, but it doesn't quite make sense that they're there in the second film, which I don't know the English. I forget the Japanese one. I have it noted down for my full review, but another Abashiri Prison story would be the English translation of the second film. And in that one, it's kind of about everyone chasing this MacGuffin, this green algae ball, or an imitation algae ball that contains some stolen jewels. And so it's kind of a caper movie, really. I really enjoyed it. Apparently it's quite derided, or it's not considered very highly in the series or in general as a movie, I suppose. I really enjoyed it. I thought there was some really good stuff in it. And the third film, which I think is like this saga of homesickness. Yeah, Abashiri Prison, saga of homesickness. I loved the third one. I thought the third one it's more of a kind of a straight up Yakuza film. And Ken Takakura plays Shinichi Tachibana, who is this kind of young kind of Yakuza member who ends up, kind of striking down a boss and going to prison. But the third film sees him go back to his hometown, and that's where the continuity gets skewed even more, and you realize you just got to kind of go along for the ride with these ones. But there's some really great stuff in it. There's a great villain in the film, Killer Joe. What a memorable presence. He's barely in the film, but when he's there, his impact is really made. And I could go on, and I will when I get to them. I'm going to do a 3-part review of this set. I'll review each film individually in separate videos, and the third one will be my full review of like the extras and everything. But there's some great extras. There's like an hour's worth of video extras. You got Tony Raines, there's Jasper Sharp, Mark Schilling, I believe. Yes, and then there's 3 audio commentaries on all 3 films. Oh, there's one commentary for each film, I should clarify. But you get 3 audio commentaries on the set, one for each film. I really like the way they laid it out, where you get kind of different commentators for each film, and it's spread across 2 discs, which is nice. I mean, they probably could have crammed through 3 films on 1 disc, but they're not very long. But I like that they spread it across 2 discs. So you got the third one on a single disc there, and then you have 1 and 2 on the first disc. And there's some original poster artwork on the inside too. We have a booklet, as you would expect. So there's 2 and 3, and their original posters on the inside, which is really nice. You get a closer look at that in the full review, of course. But I feel like I'm kind of almost coming around to the idea of the Yakuza film. And I don't think that these films really fall under the Ninkyo kind of category, but I think I like the idea of the Ninkyo Yakuza film, which is the more traditional kind of chivalrous kind of honorable Yakuza, where it is about, gang warfare, but there's a code of honor. And I like that. And I think Ken Takakura plays that kind of character really well. But once the 70s came around, it became a lot more gritty and raw and just brutal violence, and the Ninkyo kind of side of it was thrown out of the window. But I love these films. I think it's a great set. And just a great discovery again. I've never heard of these films before. Never in my life. Not even a hint of any of these films. But that's why I love collecting. That's why I love boutique labels, and why I love just these wonderful discoveries that can happen. And for someone who loves Japanese films, it's just great to see stuff like this. Next up, we have a Eureka Classics release. This film was made in 1976 in Hong Kong and is directed by Ting Shan-si, I think is how you pronounce that. And the film is A Queen's Ransom, starring George Lazenby as this great hero in this film about a plot to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II. Did I say he's the hero? No, he's actually the Irish terrorist villain of the film. Very strange to see George Lazenby, one of the best Bonds, I think. The whole story about how he became James Bond is amazing, by the way, just as a side note. But I love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. That's just a classic. It's weird seeing him with a mustache and being a very violent sexual being in this film. Not to laugh at that sort of thing, but it was just so shocking. There's a particular sequence where he slaps a woman and just forces himself on her, and of course, being a movie made by men, she enjoys it. But yeah, it's made in the 70s, 1976, and they start having this rough kind of sex, and I love how that's the first thing I go into. But it was, it sticks in your mind, and then it's like the 70. That was a really bad impression of it, but the typical stock 70s porn music just hits in, and then it cuts to a different scene, and I'm like, okay, God, thank God for that. And then we cut back to George Lazenby having sex, and then the 70s porn music comes back. A Queen's Ransom. No, The Queen. No, yeah, A Queen's Ransom. I haven't gone into the extras. I've watched the film. I haven't gone into the extras yet. I'm really intrigued to hear about the behind the scenes story of how this one came together. I think it's kind of genius how they, and maybe a bit unethical, how they clearly, there was clearly a visit to Hong Kong by the Queen and Prince Philip at the time, and they filmed a lot of that from afar with zoom lenses and stuff, and they worked that into the plot of the film, which is kind of just an ingenious thing to do, I think. But it's about a plot to assassinate the Queen. There's a group of terrorists from different nations and things. Jimmy Wang Yu is in it as well. Angela Mao, and this is just I'll talk about it in the full review, but there's a bit where you first see Angela Mao, and she kind of takes her hat away and her hair falls down a little bit, and just this synth comes in for about 2 seconds, and I'm like, that's fucking Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
That's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And I'm just like, what is it with is this Golden Harvest? I think it is. Yeah, Golden Harvest attempts to capitalize on the popular success of the political thriller in the wake of the Day of the Jackal. Yeah, what is it with these Golden Harvest films and the Pink Floyd needle drops, unauthorized? I was like, what? Because I'm a Pink Floyd fan, and I could recognize that synth anywhere, that Richard Wright kind. But it's such a random, just 2 seconds, just drops in there, And I thought, is that it? And then later on, there's a guy walking down a staircase, and that classic 4 notes. Dun, 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 and I'm like, it's Shine On, and then that's it, Anyway, that very random aside. I'll talk more about the film in the full review, but I loved the whole kind of the setup of it. All the different characters, the complicated web of everything going on, the police, the terrorists, the plot, the plotting, and that stuff to me was just I really enjoyed it. It's not a great film, but I actually really got into the whole drama of how they're going to try and take out the Queen. And there's some good character stuff and kind of revelations, and yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I was really quite surprised going in. I was a bit skeptical, wasn't sure what to think, but I actually ended up really enjoying this one, and I look forward to talking more about it in a separate video. Finally, we have another MOC release. This is Spy number 288, and this is a 4K release. Now this is exciting because it's the first ever Masters of Cinema release that has a film that has joined the collection and has joined the collection in 4K right off the bat, because every other 4K release we've had in the MOC collection has been kind of a re-release of an existing film in the collection. But this comes in new to the MOC collection, and on 4K, The Valiant Ones from King Hu. So I was really intrigued by just the choice of this coming to 4K. I thought that was really interesting. And I know that King Hu is a very well regarded director, and he has many films in the collection actually, all of which I've still not seen. The only film I've seen by King Hu is Come Drink With Me, which came with considerable kind of praise whenever I'd read about it, and seems to hold quite a kind of significant. Yeah, my brain just stopped working then. It holds a signal. Let me try and get this. Let me just wrangle this. I was doing all right there. It seems to hold a significant place in people's minds in the wuxia genre, right? And I forget the actress's name now. I mean, it's an example of like an early kind of, like a strong female character, and that's my abiding memory of the film, was that she was the best part of the film, and I enjoyed the setting and the setup, but I wasn't quite as wowed by it as I was expecting to be. But this film from 1975 is, I think, the King Hu's last wuxia film, and I didn't know what to expect again, and I felt like, well, if they decided that this was worth kind of going to 4K for, maybe that's an indicator of it being a little bit special, maybe. So I put it on with great interest, and I absolutely loved this film. I kept thinking of Kurosawa. It felt like a Kurosawa film to me. You know, not in a one-to-one kind of comparison or anything, but just the feel of it. It felt just, I don't want to say higher in quality than other films, but there's just something special there. And yeah, it's the period setting. It reminds you of many of Kurosawa's period films, but I don't know, there was just this sense of a director, a filmmaker with a vision. And it felt like a cohesive vision in this film. The way the camera slides along, the way that the action is shot, the editing. Now, I'm not saying that the editing is like a Kurosawa film. The editing's unlike anything I've seen before. And I still don't know if I even like it, because the rapid nature of the cuts in this, in some of the fight scenes and other sequences, was just, what am I looking at? It felt kind of revolutionary to me almost, but I loved the tempo of the action, and just the fluidity of my voice cracked there, the fluidity of like the movements. And I'll talk more about it, again, because I'm dying to kind of dig into all the extras on this one as well. There's tons of video extras on this and a commentary, so I'm really excited about that. I really want to know more about it and more about King Hu, and again, it's all just discovery for me, and I love that. That's one of my favorite things in the world, is just learning more about the history of cinema, and I do have a particular, fascination with East Asian cinema, I should say, and this one, I don't know, I just was thinking as I was watching it, I'm loving this, and you don't often get that. I don't anyway. So it was just like, it was a nice feeling. I'm wondering if like the progressive like allergy attack as I'm making this video is more apparent as the video goes on, and my eyes are getting redder or something, because it's just like, it's like pulling teeth to get through this video. I'm enjoying talking about these films, but it's like my allergy is like, oh, he wants to film a video. Let's attack him even harder. Yes, the Valiant Ones. Just so great to have this in 4K. It looked incredible. I'll leave this in for free. There's the China O'Brien disc. My Valiant Ones 4K disc is still in my 4K player. This looked phenomenal. Eureka did send me the screener disc of the Blu-ray version, so I'm gonna have a quick look to see how it compares and stuff. But man, just to get something from 1975, a wuxia film from 1975 in 4K, and it looks incredible. There's some great cinematography there, some great staging, beautiful grain. It's an exciting thing for a film fan, and I've talked about it before. Don't want to be a broken record, but like as an appreciator of film grain and the look of physical film, something that's just being lost, in modern cinema and in revisionist home video releases like the James Cameron, Peter Jackson stuff. There's a great new video that just came out recently called "Can the Lord of the Rings Ever Be Remastered?" I highly recommend that. Keep in mind as you're watching it that AI was used in the upscaling of the Lord of the Rings 4K discs, but aside from that, and it's an incredible look at how those films have been changed and revised over the years. And hey, who's to say if this 4K disc really is indicative of how the Valiant ones looked when it came out in the cinemas? The answer is probably not. The answer is it probably looks even better than that. There's a real consistency you can get from, I mean, obviously it's a 4K scan from the original negative, but, to do a real deep dive scan restoration on a physical film print, you're able to stabilize the image and maybe you lose something there a little bit, but I just thought the film looked phenomenal, and I just love the feel of it. I haven't even talked about the story, which I'll get into with my individual review, I suppose. It's just a shame. I wish I had the tech. I'll leave that into. I want to get through the end of this damn video. Let's keep it real, right? What's this artifice of, I'm sat here in front of my camera in my office room talking about this thing. I'm human. I don't script these things, so I stumble and I fumble frequently. So where was I going? Yes, so I'll do my individual review and everything, but in brief, it's about this group of pirates. I think they're supposed to be Japanese. I am absolutely 100% certain after I've listened to the Frank Jiang audio commentary on this, I'll have a huge... See, I'm trying my best to kind of... And it's a performance, right? It's kind of a performance when you're kind of doing these things, but... I'm really hitting mental blocks in terms of just stringing the sentences along. It's to do with how long I haven't been making videos for, and it's to do with the allergies kicking my ass. I'm sure after, I'll leave all that stuff in. I'm sure after I've listened to the Frank Jiang audio commentary on this, I will have a much larger understanding of whether or not they're supposed to be Japanese pirates or not. But it's basically about this group who are kind of brought in by the government to take out the pirates, and it's just seeing their plan to kind of pick them off group by group and maybe even to infiltrate them. And it's a great cast. There's I love it. And that's another thing that reminded me of Kurosawa, was it just felt like a lot of the characters were clearly defined in ways I don't see often in movies, certainly in some of the East Asian films I've been watching from Eureka over the past couple of years, there does tend to be just a lot of different characters, but this one I just felt like there was flavor, there was real distinctive individual flavor to a lot of these characters. Some of them could have been developed a little bit better, I suppose, but I just liked the kind of the crew, the valiant ones, as you kind of see on the front here, that gathered to kind of take down these pirates, one of which is the great Sammo Hung, who doesn't have a huge role in the film, but he is essentially the big bad. There's a great sequence where two of the members of and I'm calling them the valiant ones, they're not really called that in the film, but this I don't know what you would even call them really, but they're hired and they're kind of given the job by the government. They're soldiers, warriors, adept in martial arts and so on, but two of them, they go to the stronghold of the pirates, and I love the kind of just the setting of it and all the location stuff and the woods. I don't know, but they kind of trying to infiltrate the stronghold, and there's this big sequence that's just like it's something out of a video game. In a way, it's almost like here's all the different bosses you're gonna have to go through, and there's like, for me, it was like a cool moment to be like, oh, look, it's Yuen Bu when he was younger, or it's Yuen Wah, who's literally in the film called Yuen Wah. So I'm like, yes, I'm kind of, I'm learning things, I'm, recognizing faces, and that was kind of fun. But I just thought this film was incredible. I'm now super keen and eager to watch his other films that are in the MOC collection, like Touch of Zen, Dragon Inn, and then there's Legend of the Mountain, Raining in the Mountain, I think. There's The Fate of Lee Khan, so there's lots of stuff to discover and enjoy, and I had an absolutely fantastic time with this, and getting it in 4K, what a treat. Like, this was a great month for Eureka, I think. Just three great releases. You get two different cuts of A Queen's Ransom, and I did note on the, I guess it would be the export cut. So you get the original Hong Kong cut on The Queen's Ransom, and these are from 2K restorations actually, and then you get the English language export cut, which removes the sex scene that I was talking about, and understandably so. This is a really nice piece of artwork actually by Darren Whelan. I like that a lot. Just the kind of the composition of it is really nice. My fingers are covering the whole thing. There you go. Yeah, really cool. But yeah, that's pretty much my brief thoughts on these, and you can expect some deeper dives very, very soon. I promise. I'm hard at work, and I've already noted up everything on the Abashiri prison set. Abashiri Bangachi, not Bangachi, Ban. I should remember it because Kenta Kakura sings the theme song. Abashiri Bangaichi. That was terrible. I'll leave that in as well. I'll embarrass myself on top of everything else, because why not? But Abashiri Bangaichi. Prison Walls 1 through 3. I wonder if they'll release the other ones in the series. I'd like to see more of them. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. You probably didn't. Maybe there's some, I don't know, comedic value out of me struggling to get my way through this, but I do want to stress again that I think this is a really, really, really strong month for Eureka, or it was in May. We're now in June now. It just was June the 1st when I filmed this video. But I'm keen to get to work on these, and there's other ones I need to do videos on as well. There just doesn't exist the time in the day, as James Rolfe once said. And by once I mean has said many, 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 many times. Now, I'm going to go and blow my nose another 6,000 times until just an impossible amount of snot comes out. You know, you just think, like, where does it keep coming from? And then I'll try to sleep, where inevitably I'll wake up in the middle of the night again and need to blow my nose again another 300 or 400 times. And I need to do it again now. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.